This one's about the Roman Empire. Hey, I'm Chuck. I'm an educator with a new job this year, a new commute. This podcast is you along for the ride on my drive here. This is the Drive Time Diary. Me, and now you, in the car, thinking about whatever I'm thinking about for the day. So if you listened to the episode where I interviewed my daughter a few episodes ago, I asked her about the Roman Empire question. So I know this has been on my radar for a couple weeks. I just heard on a different podcast called the Culture Translator from Access Connect, that as of whenever they recorded that episode last week, that there was like 1 billion views of hashtag the Roman Empire on TikTok. So I know this is blowing up. But here's where we're at now with this. Educators or people of, I don't know how old these people were. This would be the younger audience or educators. You might have noticed like 10 years ago, 10, 12, 13 years ago, kids were always playing the game. This was a thing when I first started teaching up until a few years in, several years in. Kids were always playing the game. And they'd be like, have you won the game? Did you win the game? And the thing with the game, it took a while to figure this out, unless people were telling you, because they didn't want to lose the game. The way to win the game was to not think about the game. And as soon as you thought about the game, you then lost the game. So if you were really trying to mess people up, you would just, if you would walk around to school then, sometimes random whiteboards or chalkboards, kids would have just written the game on there as they were walking out. And then reading the game on the whiteboard would also make you lose the game. Here's the connection I'm making. I think at least once a week that I think about the Roman Empire. Naturally. I read from the Bible every morning. I read through the whole thing every year. Typically on a plan that goes all the way through the Old Testament once and the New Testament twice. And so it's rare that I go for a whole week without reading something from the New Testament or hearing that on Sunday morning in a sermon that I'm listening to. And so the context in which Jesus Christ was crucified and the Roman Empire, officially executed Christ. Just reading in that context and thinking about Christ's brutal death makes me think about the Roman Empire. And then there's all the other things just culturally that we also think about it. But I'm thinking about the Roman Empire at least a week just through trying to put the Bible in context as I read it. But then at this point, because everybody's talking about the Roman Empire, I'm thinking about the Roman Empire once a day. Just because people are asking other people if they're talking about the Roman Empire, and then we're all talking about how people are talking about it, and so on and so forth, and you see this, and now, if you're listening to this episode, you're thinking about the Roman Empire today, and maybe you wouldn't have otherwise, but now I'm in your brain rent-free. So, this one was about the Roman Empire, and it just made me think about that, the game that kids used to play with each other, and I wish it would come back actually, or something like that, because once I figured out what the game was, it was kind of fun, and I liked to, it was another thing I like to use to mess with students. Like if I knew they might be playing the game, then I would make them lose the game, which always meant that I was always never going to win, because then I was always thinking about the game. Also, regardless, I don't know how many times I've said the game and the Roman Empire now. I might have to look at a transcript on that later. But that's what's on my mind today. If you are looking to connect to the TikTokers right now, ask them about the Roman Empire. That's my tip for you, teachers, if you're not on that yet. And also, I have had a couple conversations with educators this year of people who still don't know what ChatGPT is, really what AI is, and that really surprised me because I've been on that for for a minute, since maybe last fall. I know that I'm onto newer stuff and that I follow that a little more than other people, but at this point, the fact that there's still people who don't really know what AI is or haven't tried out ChatGPT is surprising to me. So I would encourage you to do that too, and I can tell you all the ways that I use that as an educator. But that's maybe for another episode. Until then, thanks for coming on the drive. Thanks for subscribing and following on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Checking me out on Instagram at Drivetime Diary, or my regular account, Mr. C. Baker for Math, or on the X, formerly Twitter, Chuck C. Baker. Anywho, drive safe. We'll see you on the next drive.